people, and I could give you a few tests, and I could tell you creative, not creative, creative, not creative. So I could kind of come up with a way of assessing how creative you were. So during World War II, the Air Force said, great, we need the most creative bombers to go over Berlin. So Guilford, come and help us pick the right bombers to go over Germany. Okay? When Guilford was picked to do this, the Air Force also picked an old retired Air Force pilot. And Guilford was very unhappy with this choice because the old Air Force pilot had no psychology training. He didn't have a PhD. Okay? And he did not use any of these sophisticated assessment tools. And even more, he got even more upset because the old Air Force pilot always picked different people from what Guilford picked. Okay? So a year later, the Air Force does an assessment. Okay, did Guilford do better or the old Air Force pilot do better in picking the right pilots? And what Guilford found out is that the people he had picked were either shot down on Berlin more often or they had died more than the ones that were picked by the old Air Force pilot. So Guilford went into a depression because he had sent more people to death. Okay? He almost contemplated suicide. But before jumping off the bridge, he went and spoke with the old Air Force pilot. He said, help me, why? How is it that you were more successful than me in picking the right pilots? And the pilot said, yeah, that was easy. I only asked them one question. And the question I asked them was, what will you do when you are over Berlin and you come under very heavy fire? If they said, I'm going to go above the clouds, or I'm going to try and avoid the tracking lights, I did not pick them. But if they said, I don't know, I will see what my gut tells me, I will make decisions based on that moment, then I picked them. I said, why? Why did you do that? That doesn't make sense. The manual doesn't say that. He said, yes, definitely, that's why I picked them. Because the manual said, go above the clouds. The manual said, avoid the lights. And the Germans had the same manual. Okay? And so they would be waiting above the clouds to shoot down the planes. That is when Guilford started this whole notion of divergent thinking and convergent thinking. We have to understand what is divergent thinking. To be different from others, breaking the rules. So today, business people, we say, we take risks. But then we say, take bold chances. Why are you not investing anything now? We are blaming the politicians if they invest, right? They say, too much uncertainty. That is because the executive doesn't understand the word risk or uncertainty. Because we as humans, not just experts, not just business people, even academics, my own colleagues, do not make a distinction between risk, uncertainty, and ambiguity. What is the difference? There's a difference. In innovation, we have a process and we have an outcome. Okay? Process, outcome. When we know the process, when we know the outcome, is what we call as continuous improvement, making things better. There is still risk because we have competitors, we have changing economics around us, but there is an element of risk, but we know the variables and we understand somewhat their distributions. Is that clear? I know if I'm Reckitt, I know who my 4 best competitors are, and I know how they behave. I can somewhat predictably say how they behave. Fair enough? I know the variables. I know roughly their distributions, probabilities. Uncertainty is when you know the variables, but you don't know what the distribution is. You're going into a new country. You have a product, you know how to do the product, but you're going into a new country. Which means probably I don't know the distributions of the variables that well. Whereas ambiguity is when I don't know the process and I don't know the outcome. I don't know which products and I don't know which markets. Innovation has many more unknown variables, unknown unknowns. Okay? So the first thing we need to understand is how we make a distinction between ambiguity, uncertainty, and risk. If you look at your environment, your own competitive environment in your business, we can say, steady and stable. Even the government, I used to say steady and stable, even now you can't say that anymore. Okay? Unless you are in the Department of Motor Vehicles giving licenses. That's the only stable thing that you can predict, right? So you can say normal conditions, complicated conditions, and complex conditions. Here you know the variables. Here you know the variables, but you don't know the distribution. Here you don't know which variables you need to take into account. Okay? Oh, I'm building a new building. Here I'm building a new skyscraper in a new country. But here I'm building a skyscraper in Dubai in the opposite direction into the ocean. See the difference? I don't know what variables I will come across when I start digging into the ocean, because nobody has ever done it before. So, if you look at that is risk, uncertainty, and ambiguity. Is that clear? Okay? So, my friend here is a great sailor. He has crossed the oceans. Okay? And if he has to sail, I'm not a motorboat, is that okay? Sailing. Any sailors here? Anybody sails? Okay, wonderful. So there are some sailors here. If you have to sail from Barcelona to San Juan, how do you go? Do you go straight? No, it is never straight. No? I mean, he loves to go to Mallorca too. That is right there. Which one is more, which is uncertain, which is ambiguous? Which one is complicated, which one is complex? Is that clear? So, you never go straight. You always go with the winds and the currents. And of course, you encounter unknown variables in your first journey. Okay? How do you go? There's something called emergent strategy. You never go straight. You think big. You think different. Then you start small. You start small. You start several projects. Not 1 or 2 projects, but several projects. You prototype very rapidly. Because I don't know the process, I don't know the outcome. I need to do testing and experimenting. I get a proof of concept. I take action before I do analysis. I get voice of customer, voice of technology, voice of supply, voice of demand. I do very rapid learning. This is the second discipline, is learning as I go. I fail fast, I fail cheap, I learn quick. There's only one thing I can promise you about innovation. The one thing I can promise you is that if you don't fail, you will not innovate. So a lot of people ask me today, Jay, what's your job? And I say, I help executives learn to fail. Is that a good promotional thing? Terrible marketing, right? But if you as executives, as you as leaders and you as managers do not learn to fail, you will not innovate. I can guarantee you that. Is that clear? So we have to make our people learn how to fail. Executives today have only succeeded. They come to their jobs because they have only succeeded. See how radically different this thinking is? See how difficult this thinking is? Because if we don't fail, we will not learn. But we can be smart about our failures. Is that okay? That's the good news. The good news is that we can be smart about how we fail. Okay? Only when you have a proof of concept, only then throw the money in. Not before that. Okay? Not before that. Because the way we are approaching our innovation projects is very wrong. You know Xbox? You know Xbox? You know? Microsoft Xbox? 10 years, they have sold $50 billion. Mil millones of Xbox. You know how much money they have made in 10 years? Minus 9 billion. That is not innovation. Is that clear? I don't know. If you're an executive, can you say, yes, you have to go to Wall Street and say something? Oh, what is the meaning of that? Okay? That's a bad business. Celebrate failure, celebrate success. We only do one thing, and we mismanage failure. We need to celebrate failure, and you're going, how can I do that? There are again nice ways of doing it. There are smart ways of celebrating failure. So, there are two ways you can go into the future. I think one of you said it's about decisions that we make about the future. The traditional way how companies have made decisions about the future is, what is the first thing that we do? We have something called analytical strategy. We do an environmental scanning. We do Porter 5 analysis, SWOT analysis, pest analysis, step analysis, and then say, here is the future. We are going in this direction. And then I predict a trend line based on our WACC, which is weighted cost of capital, our internal rate of return. We have all these metrics, and then say this has to be, if I'm going to give you money for this project only if you are going to hit these numbers. Is that clear? And then what do? I get an army of a little group of people and give them key performance metrics, and I come up with a project plan and then say, yes, now go start marching on this trend line I have drawn for you about the future. Is that clear? What happens then? Failure happens. We all know it happens. Because 90% of the time, 75% of the time it does. What do we do as an organization? We put more money, more effort to get these people back on the trend line that we have predicted about the future. Again, they start marching. Again, they fall off. Again, we put more money and more effort to get back on the trend line. And after third or fourth attempt, you kill the project, fire the people, and it's gone. And stop talking about it. Is that okay? That's the traditional tendency. That works beautifully. That works great. And this is what we have learned in the last 50 years thanks to all business schools. Is that clear? And consulting companies. But in innovation, there's a new way. There's a different way. And innovators and entrepreneurs understand this very well. That's that emergent strategy. When there are more unknowns, when I cannot predict, I have to do action before analysis, not analysis before action. Jack Welch, as in 1989, Soviet Union collapses. Okay? So Russia opens up, glasnost, perestroika, blah, blah, blah. So Jack Welch visits Russia, comes back excited. He comes back to Connecticut to the headquarters of GE and say, we have to be in Russia, blah, blah, blah. We have to be there. So let's get a group together, do a 3-month analysis, come up with a plan to go into Russia. In Stamford, Connecticut, there was this elderly Russian who had emigrated 15, 20 years before, and he was in this group and said, what plan? What garbage analysis? You think any of this stuff is going to work? You can plan for 3 years and you can't get anything done. So they thought, then how do you do it? Just go there. Go there and open a shop. That is how you learn. That is how you learn. You go there and open a shop because there are too many variables that we don't know. The only way you learn is by taking action and learn the variables while you are failing. Don't spend $30, $40 million on consultants. Spend $2 million to open a little shop and go and talk to all the people there. And you will make mistakes, but you will learn much faster. That is a different thinking. That is innovation. Because you are learning something new, not based on historical knowledge. One is called prediction logic. The other one is called creation logic. One is very left brain oriented. The other one is very right brain oriented. Okay? I am not saying abandon this. No, no, no. I'm not saying that. It is that plus this. When we have good knowledge, please use it. But we have to do this a lot more. And that is where companies are making mistakes. Is that clear? So our practice of innovation today is where our practice of quality was 30 years ago. We are making too many mistakes in our approach to innovation. But we can get intelligent about this because we know a lot more as to how to do it. We know how entrepreneurs do it. We know how innovators do it. The last piece is discipline. Are you clear about practice? So the only thing, if you don't remember anything from today, and most of you will not, I can guarantee you that. This is the only thing I want you to take away. One is what we call as planning before action. The other one is action before planning. Is that clear? That's all I want you to remember. And that we need to do much more action before planning. Because most companies I meet and I work with have something called analysis paralysis. Have you heard this? Okay. No, you are different. I know Spain is different. But, okay. Right? So the last part is discipline. We talked about this already. If you don't have the desire, please don't start. Because there are a lot of companies that are mediocre and mediocrity can make money. Is that clear? There is a lot of money to be made with mediocrity. Mediocrity is God's gift to humanity. Just go and be mediocre, please. Okay? Imitation is better than innovation. Okay? Because you can make money with imitation. Because the bottom of the pyramid is so big, really terrible companies are so many, so mediocrity can make money. So just be happy with it. No, I don't want you to waste money. At least please don't waste money. Is that clear? Okay? But if there is the desire, you will be disciplined. Okay? He wants to lose 10 pounds because he wants to run in the 400-meter hurdles. In how many months? In June. So I know he'll become disciplined because he wants to win. Okay? There is this part of discipline that is critical to become innovative. So you can't remove that part of the discipline. But we need to think about how are we going to do as a company? Who are we? Why should we do this? And because we need to create the experts. Remember, The journey started by creating a group of experts. We need to understand what is their mindset, what are their behaviors, and what are their roles. And we have to do that in a disciplined manner. Because there is so much failure, because I'm not saying people will fail, projects will fail. Projects fail, people don't fail. So the other mistake that companies make is they link projects with people. It's a terrible mistake. You need to separate the two, people and the projects. Projects fail, but of course people are human. They feel terrible when they fail. So that means that you need a support structure, accountability to help them. So coaching becomes very important in innovation. Build a culture of innovation. These are the 6 basic building blocks. Okay, one is the left brain aspects, which we know how to do it, and we are spending a lot of time and energy on this. Unfortunately, not many people are spending money on the right brain stuff, the values, the behaviors, and the climate inside. I cannot push you to be creative. I cannot beat you to be creative. The only thing I can do as an executive, as a manager, is how can I create a climate where people can be naturally creative. That's the only thing I can do, especially in a knowledge society today. I cannot push you to be creative. And the way we are actually approaching how we define success in innovation is so wrong, because our methods of motivating people are 100 years old. It comes from the mechanical era. It comes from a guy called Taylor. And Henry Ford was a big fan of them. And Dell did not help us at all because he followed Henry Ford. Where I'm saying, here is the product, here is how you make it, and I'll pay you a little more if you can make it faster, better, cheaper. That is a very mechanical way of motivating people. How much time do we have? Can I tell a story? 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. Yeah? There are 2 business plans. 2 business plans 10 years ago. One business plan says, you know, all the encyclopedias and all the big things that you have in your house, you know, Britannica, New America, yeah? Nobody opens them, nobody reads them, right? So instead, we'll put all of that on a CD, on a DVD, okay? So I'm going to get 250 people, the best researchers in the world, okay? I'll gather all of them, and I'm going to make this CD, everything, all that is in the books, I'm going to make it into a DVD, and I'll sell it for $50. That's one business plan. The other business plan, and then I want investments from people to do. The other business plan says, there is this new technology called Wiki. And I don't know how it works. We think it may be a piece of web page where many people can go and make changes. What I'll try is to have a bunch of servers in the back, and I'll make space where experts and knowledge, people who have a lot of knowledge anywhere in the world to go and write whatever they think is the right thing, and I'll have a few, 4 or 5 people just to watch and make sure that garbage is not put in there. I have no idea how to make money. I'm not even planning on making money. Okay? And let's see where it goes. 10 years ago, which business plan would you have given money? Okay. The first business plan was called Encarta by Microsoft. After 10 years, it was killed, lost $50 million. The other one is called Wikipedia, the greatest repository of human knowledge on earth. So the way we are defining success, we are not paying anybody for their creativity. So today there is good knowledge, good enough research to show that paying money decreases creativity. Because you are HR people, I want to tell you that management is the problem in creativity, because we are using motivational techniques that are 100 years old. If you don't read anything, please read one book called Drive. In psychology, there is very good research for the last 30 years to show that for creativity, it is not money. Okay? So, management is 30 years behind psychology and science. You cannot pay to become creative. These are different motivational techniques. So, climate becomes so important. So these are the inputs, those are the outputs. Left brain, right brain. Inputs, outputs. Okay? Execute strategy. How do you execute strategy? Pick a road that is friendly to your values, your climate, and your resources. Create processes and encourage innovation behaviors. Celebrate success, celebrate failure. Celebrate failure. Have you heard of an ice cream company called Ben & Jerry's? Ben & Jerry's is in Vermont, Maine, about 3 hours drive from Boston. There's their largest production facility. You can take a tour as to see how you make ice cream. But they are most proud not of the ice cream factory. After you finish the tour, they take you to the backyard called the flavor graveyard. These are all the flavors that are dead. All the flavors that got killed. And all the people, they have a contest to write the best poem as to why that flavor died. They put up on the website, there is a little contest in the game that they play. Which poem gets written on the epitaph of the grave? Okay? They celebrate failure. They're very passionate about these products that have failed. Because so much creativity went into it, but hey, they made mistakes. Okay? But they learned and they made it better. And at times they bring back. You know Halloween? You know you know what Halloween is? Next Halloween, please go to their website. Because every Halloween, they bring back one flavor from the dead. And see if that flavor is going to work this time. Okay? That's how they celebrate failure. Please celebrate failure. Gracias. Questions, please.
In English?
Bueno, tenemos traducción, con
bueno,
lo cual
pues en castellano.
En cualquiera,
en
fines no.
En fines no.
Hoy no.
Bueno, bueno yo lo que he leído muchísimo en la parte de la innovación también, lo que sale últimamente, y hay una tendencia que las grandes corporaciones que son tan Lean y tan Sigma se subcontratan la innovación a compañías más pequeñitas, que me gustaría saber, Jay, lo que piensas tú de esto.
Oh yeah, you can outsource innovation. Okay.
We will be very happy.
There are very good companies which actually do that for you today. Okay, a company called Aedipe. Okay, there are a lot of design companies today are getting into this business. Okay, but it doesn't do anything to your culture. Do you see? That's the challenge. The challenge is that you want your people to be creative. So organically doing it internally is the hardest, but in the long run, that has the best results. Okay? But you can use temporarily on a short-term basis some of these companies to come and help you. Okay? Till you get your internal behaviors, internal processes, internal climate to a certain standard. Okay?
First of all, congratulations for